In today's video, I want to take a look at the current NHL standings and give you my predictions for which teams will make the playoffs, and we'll take a look at what the first round of playoffs would look like based on those predictions. We'll jump into that coming up next. So welcome back here to Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned today, I want to take a look and make some playoff predictions based on the standings here as of today. Now I'm recording this video on Friday. It may not be posted to the channel until Saturday or Sunday, so if the standings have changed ever so slightly, I do apologize for that, but this is being recorded here in advance, so I just want to let you know that here if there's any changes while you're watching this video. And of course, depending on when you watch it, they could have changed here yet again. So of course, like I said, let's take a look at the current standings, make some predictions on who's going to get in. Of course, I want to know what your thoughts are down in the comment section. So as we go through this, I want you to leave your comments to let me know which teams you think will make the playoffs and who will end up facing each other in round one of the Stanley Cup Playoffs. Now let's take a look at the current Eastern Conference standings. Of course, right now you have the Metropolitan Division with the Washington Capitals in first place. You get the New York Islanders in second place, the Philadelphia Flyers in third. Then, of course, you have the Boston Bruins in first place in the Atlantic, followed by the Florida Panthers in second, and the Buffalo Sabres in third. Currently, the wildcard teams are the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, I will warn you in my predictions, there are certainly a few teams right now in playoff spots that I do have missing out, so stay tuned to find out who those are. On the Western Conference, right now, in the Central Division, we have the St. Louis Blues, defending Stanley Cup champions, in first place. You get the Colorado Avalanche in second place, followed by the Winnipeg Jets, who have certainly dealt with their fair share of adversity this year, in third place. In the Pacific Division, we've got the Edmonton Oilers currently in first, a little bit of a surprise this year, followed by the Arizona Coyotes in second place, and the Vegas Golden Knights sitting in third. The wildcard teams, as of today, are the Dallas Stars and the Vancouver Canucks. Now, I will warn you again with the Western Conference standings, there is some teams there that will not be showing up in my predictions that I do have missing out, even though they sit in a spot as of today. So let's jump in here and take a look at my predictions starting in the Eastern Conference. Now, let's first take a look at the Metropolitan Division. I do have the top three as being the Washington Capitals staying in first place, the New York Islanders staying in second, followed by the Carolina Hurricanes. I think the Hurricanes are going to find some of that magic they had last year and work their way up into the top three of the Metropolitan Division. The Flyers are going to hang on and they're going to drop down a little bit, but they're still going to do okay here. But the Flyers are going to fall a bit, and the Canes are going to move up. Now, the Flyers are a very unpredictable team from year to year. They certainly like to go up and down the standings, and I just don't have as much confidence in them as I do for the Carolina Hurricanes right now. I can see the Hurricanes maybe getting a late season addition. Maybe former captain Justin Williams makes his return. There's been some talk about that. That might give them a boost, some nice quality veteran leadership to add to an already pretty strong club there. So I can see the Canes moving up. So that's my prediction for the Metro Division. Now let's jump over and take a look at how I have the top three finishing in the Atlantic. The Boston Bruins right now are such a strong team. They will stay in first place in my opinion, but the second and third place teams will be different than they currently are as of now. I have the Tampa Bay Lightning getting their act together and finishing all the way up to second place. Right now, even though they're lower in the standings, along with teams like Toronto, Montreal, it's not that big of a gap, and I do think some of these teams, if they get it together here, can really make some major strides in the standings. Finishing in third place is going to be the upstart Maple Leafs. Of course, they got off to a really hot start with Sheldon Keefe as their head coach. Cooled off a little bit lately, so we'll see how things go. But in my opinion, the Maple Leafs do need to make some moves, as the Tampa Bay Lightning probably don't need to. Like, the Lightning are a pretty deep team. They just need to get rolling in the right direction here. Whereas I can see the Leafs and Kyle Dubas maybe making some minor additions, like a backup goaltender to take the pressure off Freddie Anderson. They can get somebody that can play those extra games and get them some wins when Freddie Anderson's not in the net. That will make a huge difference for the Maple Leafs. Now let's stay with the Eastern Conference and take a look at who I have as the wildcard teams. Now right now, obviously, as I mentioned, is Pittsburgh and Carolina, and they're both going to be different. Obviously, as you know, I already said the Canes were going from a wildcard team to a top three. I have the two wildcard teams in the East as being the Montreal Canadiens and the Florida Panthers. Now, both those teams right now are in different spots than I have them, and I do, as I mentioned, in the very beginning of the NHL season, before it even get underway with some predictions, I had 5 teams from the Atlantic making it. It's not going to be an easy task here. So obviously that means that the Flyers are going to be dropping out of the playoffs. The Sabres are dropping out of the playoffs, as are the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's 3 changes in the Eastern Conference, which is not something we see a ton of changes really once we get past U.S. Thanksgiving. So I guess we will see how these predictions hold up here. But I do have those 5 teams from the East making it in the playoffs. So let's take a look at how that would shape up round 1 of the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. That would put the Washington Capitals doing battle with the Florida Panthers. The New York Islanders would then do battle with the Philadelphia Flyers. We'd have a rematch that we haven't seen in quite some time. The old rivals, the Boston Bruins against the Montreal Canadiens, which would be really fun to watch. And the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. We would not get Toronto-Boston yet again. Things would look a little different. Montreal-Boston, still a fun series, a fun rivalry to watch as well. And I do think would be an incredibly entertaining series here. So that's how everything would go. At this point in time, though, I'm not real sure that teams like Montreal and Toronto are really built for a deep playoff run. But I guess there's a lot to talk and speculation, as we've just discussed here many times on the channel, about potential trades we might see these teams make. I do think the Leafs need more toughness. They need a little bit better defensive play and a backup goalie. Montreal needs a variety of things. I think these teams can be good enough to get in, but they're going to be in a dogfight and hard-pressed to get past the first round unless they make some changes to their current rosters. I do think teams like the Bruins and the Capitals, or even the Islanders, really, I think would probably be my top 3 to make it through the East and play for the Stanley Cup in the finals. Now let's jump over and look at the Western Conference. Starting with the Central Division, I have the Avalanche surpassing the Blues and taking first place. The Blues, I can see them falling back a little bit here, but it's going to be tight right down to the wire. I can see it coming down to the last game or two, but the Avalanche, as they get healthy, I can see them overtaking the Blues for first place and just getting that little extra advantage for the playoffs here. Then that leaves St. Louis in second place, and the Winnipeg Jets remain in third. Now let's jump over and take a look at the Pacific Division. It's going to look a little different here. I have the Arizona Coyotes winning the division, which is something I wouldn't have said at the beginning of the year, and I don't think too many people would have predicted so far, but their goaltending has been so solid. Goaltending can take you far in the NHL, and their goaltending is some of the best in the NHL right now, and I can see them at least getting them to that top spot for the playoffs. Now, I have the Oilers dropping back a little bit into second place, and then Vegas Golden Knights remaining in third. Now let's jump over and take a look at who I have as the wildcard teams. The wildcard teams I have right now as the Dallas Stars and the Calgary Flames. Now both of these teams right now are in different spots. The Stars are wildcard 1, which I have them remaining. The Calgary Flames are out of the playoffs, but I do have them moving back up. So that sets up your first round in the West of being the Avalanche versus the Flames, the Blues versus the Jets, the Coyotes versus the Stars, and the Oilers versus the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, a few teams that I have some concerns over would be teams like Winnipeg, Calgary, even Edmonton to that effect, and even to some degree Arizona as well. Arizona's got the goaltending, but do they have the offense? And the Edmonton's sake, if they can shut down McDavid and Draisaitl, they're not so hard to beat. They need to get more depth, and the Jets have been going through a lot of adversity. We don't know how the Dustin Byfuglien thing's going to play out, and even the Flames have been kind of inconsistent this year. If they can get in, they're still not going to be a strong team like they were last year. At least it doesn't look that way right now. So that is my Western Conference prediction. So of course, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'd like for you to make your predictions. Let me know where you think these teams are going to finish, who's going to get into playoffs, what will the first round look like, and which teams do you see having the best shot at playing for Lord Stanley's Cup as we get to the end of the year and at the end of the playoffs in 2020. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments and we'll continue the conversation. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.